Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast. This week's guest is Laura Winter. Hi, Laura. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm a sports presenter, sports broadcaster, event host, podcaster myself. And for the last 2 years, or coming up 2 years, I've been working predominantly in motorsport, in rallycross, and most recently F1.
Very nice. So we did a little questions with our followers, and they gave us lots of questions for you. So we're going to do a little Q&A. So the first question is, how did you get into being a broadcaster journalist?
I get this question a lot, I think, from young women like yourselves, from young people on Instagram and social media, because it's increasingly competitive and difficult. And I think the one thing I want to kind of say first off is that there's no set path and there's no one answer, one way to make it happen. So I've always loved sport. I've done sport my whole life. I was a competitive swimmer as a kid. Then I was a competitive rower. So I never saw sport as being something that wasn't for women, wasn't for girls, wasn't something that I was completely at home with and had full access to. My gender was never any barrier to me. So I went on to university and did English there. Went to Loughborough University here in the UK. And from there, I did a bit of student media, mainly in sport, predominantly in sport, actually, a bit of radio, but it's a little bit of TV, but not too much. Actually, probably not enough. That's something I do regret, considering where I've got to now. And more written stuff, actually. I think initially kind of the writing, the journalism was more where I had put a lot of my focus, probably coming from the English degree. And then when I finished university, I had no clue what I was doing at all. And I ended up getting a job with the International Rowing Federation. And that was in social media and communications. So it was kind of the birth of social media. It was 2011. So no one knew really what Twitter was. That was an entirely brand new role that they'd carved out for me. I think we just about had an Instagram account, but not really. It was all so new. And I loved it. I did 2 years, lived out in Switzerland and went to all the international regattas. And it was just kind of this whirlwind, incredible first job. But what it did, certainly in 2012, when I went to the London Olympics and Paralympics, was gave me this enormous bug for firstly coming back to the UK, but also I just really wanted to be on the other side of the camera. I was kind of either behind the camera or writing up in the stands, and I was watching all the presenters at London thinking, oh my God, I want to do that. How on earth do I make that happen? Because it just seems like a pipe dream. It just seems like something you say when you're sort of 6 years old and you're like, I want to be a pop singer and I want to be an actress. It doesn't seem real or, attainable. And so I thought, how on earth am I going to do this? So I then came back to the UK and I started doing work experience at my local newspapers here in Gloucestershire. And that led to a job. So they offered me a job as a trainee sports journalist, basically, after I'd done a fair few weeks, probably about 6 weeks or so of work experience. And that was where it all kind of began. I did my NCTJ on the job, and 2 years on, I thought to myself, right, that was good. I enjoyed that. Got my NCTJ qualification. I'm going to be a presenter. So just like that. So I just went freelance. I didn't even know what freelance really meant, I don't think. But I was like, I'm going to do it. And in 2014, Great Big Events, who are a wonderful, wonderful company, they gave me my first shot at presenting. And it was as stadium presenter for the netball at the 2014 Glasgow Commonwealth Games. And it was there that I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be doing with my life. I remember I did the final in front of like 12,500 people, just insane. I was terrified, probably absolutely rubbish because I was so nervous. And then the Monday morning I went back into the newspaper and I was writing copy about bowls and fishing. And I was like, oh my God, I have to find a way, to get back to what I was doing 24 hours ago, because this isn't the one. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started. And I guess I went freelance and then started finding opportunities and doing different bits and bobs, and it slowly snowballs from there. You know, you speak to the right people, and it's kind of word of mouth, but equally, if you're good at what you do, and you do your homework and you listen, you take on criticism, constructive criticism, and you learn, you'll keep moving on. And that's kind of what's happened here. And yeah, kind of 5 years on, I think it's worked out.
Yeah,
I think you can say so.
Yeah, that's a really amazing story, and
Thank you.
got. It sounds like you've got a lot of experience, and you've tried different things, and you've finally found what you really want to do, which is what we're all aiming for.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So for the young woman who wants to start, is there anything that you can recommend, like for studies or apprenticeships?
Well, I mean, for me, I went in and did English, and actually looking back now, I came from a grammar school, which for those who aren't from the UK is a school where you have to take an exam to get in. And so everything there is very kind of like elite, and you perform and you get your 4 A's or whatever at A level. And are they not like 1 to 9 now? I don't even know. You get your 9s or your A's or whatever it is. I'm so old. And obviously they were like, right, you're going to Oxford, you're going to Cambridge. And I was like, no, I'm a swimmer. I'm going to Loughborough. Like, there was no question for me that I wasn't going to go to a university that both catered for, yes, my studies, but equally my sport, because sport has just been so important to me my entire life. But actually looking back, I wouldn't do English again, because what did English, I mean, okay, I appreciated the poetry, but what did English actually get me in terms of, kind of more of a proactive qualification? Not so much. You'd have to have then specialised. So I think I would go straight into university. If you know what you want, age 18, you want to get into media and you want to get into sport or radio or TV or whatever it is, go for that straight off. That's my advice. That's what I would do looking back now. I would say, no, I'm not going to do English just because I'm supposed to. I'm going to go and do broadcast media or media studies or whatever it may be. That was kind of seen as like a Mickey Mouse subject, but actually I think that's such an outdated way of thinking that, I think young girls, young people need to do exactly what they want to do, and there's no point wasting time, and especially money either now, going to university if you're not doing exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah, I think a few of us can relate. Like,
yeah, definitely.
We're wanting to change our studies to something more media related, because, like you said, what's the point of studying something when you know what you want to do?
Yeah, and so I think in that case, work experience is really, really important. So yes, you may be doing English, and of course, any degree is really important. And for jobs, for certain jobs, you will need those degrees. So that's great. But I think if you are doing a degree that perhaps isn't super specific, then work experience, student media, do exactly what you girls are all doing now. Set up your own podcast, your own blogs, YouTube channels. The opportunities now actually are far greater than they were when I was coming up. I make myself sound so old. I'm only 32, but YouTube channel, blogging, vlogging, whatever it is, those things are all so up and coming now, that I think that's where young people really need to focus all their attention. Make yourself a platform to sell what you do, alongside your studies.
Yeah, well, so a lot of people also wanted to know that if it's possible to be involved with one sport but still become a sports journalist, or do you have to be into more than one sport to become a sports journalist?
That's a really interesting question, because it's one that I actually still struggle with to this day, because people always say to me, how do you do so many different sports? And I love having a variety of sports under my belt that I can turn to, and being freelance, obviously you can then, you have a wider berth to get jobs in, I suppose. But I think there does come a point where you do have to specialize, certainly in 1, 2 or 3 perhaps, where you put kind of like all your energy, because it gets to the point, there's a tipping point where you're no longer just getting all the experience you want, and you're no longer just kind of taking every job you possibly can to make a name for yourself and make money, you have the luxury of being a little bit more selective and choosing the jobs that get you the most exposure or are better paid, or are jobs you really love and sports you're really passionate about. So I think it's about, I would say, never sort of reduce yourself to one sport in particular. Having a wider knowledge, a general knowledge of all sport, I think is really important. So you can make yourself ready for any opportunity that comes your way. But certainly finding kind of a niche in a couple of sports. So I have cycling, motorsport, F1 and rallycross really, and also rugby as well, as kind of 3 sports that I tend to do the majority of my TV work in now. But I've worked in, netball, tennis, cricket, horse riding, like a lot of different sports. But it's about kind of funneling that down as you get older and progress into key sports where you know what you're doing, because your brain can only retain so much information as well.
Yeah.
That's true. It's really great to see that you're so passionate about what you're doing, but what is your favorite thing about your job? Because for us, it's probably the talk about F1 and really being involved in everything and putting out conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to hear some of these conspiracy theories. That sounds good. So I often get asked this question, and certainly last year with coronavirus, where my work, anything kind of like live event, that all stopped. Everything stopped for 3 months or so. And everyone's like, what do you miss the most? And for me, it's the buzz of live telly. This sounds so ridiculous. Everyone laughs at me when I say this, but basically when the director is in your earpiece, and they say, coming to you, Laura, in 10, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cue Laura, and you're like, here we go. Like, that is like the biggest buzz to me in the world. I love it, and I missed that so much. It's the adrenaline, it's just knowing you're kind of about to perform and you've got to perform well. And that's that edge, isn't it? That edge of your comfort zone that's just so good. It's like a drug. Obviously, it's addictive. So I'd say that really, across a range of sports, but definitely being in the thick of it and being on live TV is amazing.
Yeah, so next question is, how do you handle if and when people doubt your knowledge of sport, your sport knowledge of Formula One?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And there's a saying that I often bring up when I'm kind of asked things like this, that women have to work twice as hard to be taken half as seriously. And you're all nodding away, because I think we all can resonate with that as women, where sport still isn't seen as our world completely. It's changing, it's getting better. And I've certainly seen that through my career, but there's definitely been instances for me where, I can see my male colleague being taken so seriously, having a little like matey, jokey banter, and I'm kind of like left, on the sideline and say, oh, she won't get it, or she won't resonate, or won't understand. And it is difficult, but I think you've got to just be yourself and hold on to the knowledge that you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. Make sure whenever you go into an event or whenever you go into a job, you know 100% what you're doing and what you're saying. Do your homework. That's my number one tip, is just never go in half-baked. Always know exactly what's happening. I make pages, and I've got it here actually. This is my F1 notebook so far, like just pages and pages of notes, because firstly, I love writing things down. Like, it goes in my head if I do, but also just you've got to make sure that you're ready. And I think for the first few years of my career, I definitely felt I had to prove that. I had to prove I knew what I was talking about. And you can often, in questions, then kind of like shoehorn in as much information. Oh, but you were doing this tyre strategy, whatever. Actually, that's not your job to tell the driver what strategy they were doing. It's your job to say, how was your race? You kind of leave it open for them, and keeping it more simple rather than trying to prove how much you know is really important. But it can take a while, because being young, being up and coming, and certainly being female, you feel this need to prove yourself and that you're not quite enough in a world that has typically not seen women as enough. It is changing, and I think as you get older and more assured and you do more work, you become more comfortable in your skin and more comfortable in the knowledge that I think the opinion of those people doesn't really matter. And you know what you're doing and what you're thinking, and that's what really counts.
Yes,
Yeah.
as you said, for a female, it's harder to get into sports, especially motorsports. So what would be your best advice for women wanting to get into Formula One or getting a career in motorsports?
I would say take every opportunity you can. I think never be afraid, never think. It's so easy to say it, never think that sport isn't for you. And I think I had the luxury of growing up believing, I didn't even realize that people thought women shouldn't do sport or shouldn't talk about sport until I was kind of like 18, 19. Like I didn't grow up with the internet where you were told on a regular basis every time you tweeted, get back in the kitchen. I grew up just feeling like sport was my arena. It's where I felt most like myself. And I think that's a real luxury that perhaps with this sort of the way that social media is now, maybe younger women don't have. So I think trying to hold on to the fact that it's your dream, it's your ambition, go for it. Take every opportunity you can, do whatever you need to do, be yourself. And don't go into everything thinking, I'm a woman, therefore, I'll be treated differently. Just go in thinking, I'm a sports journalist, I'm a sports broadcaster. It doesn't matter, male or female, it doesn't matter who's holding the pen, who's holding the microphone. Just do the best job you can possibly do. And if that's all you can do. The rest is kind of out of your control to an extent. I do think, though, that the world of sport is becoming, as I've said, much more welcoming to women. I think they've seen the need for diversity. They've seen the need to address the balance of the sort of typically white male cast of broadcasters or journalists or presenters. There's still a lot to do, certainly in the journalism world. I think something like 1.8% of bylines in the UK a couple of years ago were by females. Like, there's still a huge amount to do in journalism. In broadcast, we're seeing many more women now front and center of the main sports here in the UK, football, F1, whatever it is. So things are changing, things are getting better. Ride that wave and follow the path that some brilliant broadcasters have. They've blazed the trail for us. So keep it coming.
It's great to hear. Honestly, I feel so much better now because we struggle. Like, I wouldn't say struggle, but for us, it's been really difficult to be taken seriously and everything. It's kind of why we started this, because we wanted to make women feel more comfortable in such male-dominated fields. Going to our next question, how do you own your ground in a field that's so male-dominated?
It's a really good question. And it's not one perhaps I've consciously, or maybe I have actually, maybe that's not fair. I think, so for example, if I'm ever on the F1 YouTube or on the F1 Instagram, there will undoubtedly be the odd comment that is, F1 are ticking another box. They've got a woman involved. It's like, no, hun, we're 51% of the population, actually. We're not a token, we're not a minority. We're very much here to stay. And women have every single right to talk about F1, just as you all do. And actually, F1 isn't a male sport. Drivers can be male or female. It's not men's football, it's not men's rugby. It actually is a sport where women have absolute equal right to be there. And I hope we see female drivers in the midst as well to kind of keep redressing the balance. How do I own my ground? I think, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so go for
giving a fuck. I think, just give less of a fuck, basically. And that's something that you do, that as you get older, you experience, because, you stop worrying about the opinions of people who you'd never take advice from. Why do you value their opinion because it's written on the internet? Someone with 12 followers, who has never posted a tweet before, just send you some abuse saying, get back in the kitchen or whatever. It's really difficult. And I wish women didn't have to sort of have that kind of like tough shell. And I think that's the case. That's, the case across all sports at the moment, that they're really trying to counteract that online abuse that people can get. But it is about just, standing your ground, knowing your worth, tripling it, and owning the space that you're in. And we all have a critical voice, and I think women are very very guilty of having loud critical voices and imposter syndrome. And I'd be lying to you all if I sat here right now and said I don't have that anymore. Oh my God, I do. Like, if anyone was in my head before an event, or before even like the minute before going live, they'd be like, how is she even going to get on camera? Like, sometimes I just, you lose that faith and confidence in yourself. But it's about finding the best people around you to build you up, to back you, to support you, people without an agenda, without ego, who can just push you into the right places and will always have your back on and off air. Surrounding yourself with a good team, that lifts you, that lifts your confidence, lifts your spirit. And like I said, doing everything you can behind the scenes as well, all of your homework, making sure, you've planned out exactly what you're going to do, what you're going to say, what you're going to write, get your questions in order, doing all of those things behind the scenes, which means that you're 100% prepared.
Yeah, I think that's really important. A lot of our followers wanted to know, like, how it is working with so many well-known people, because they were saying, like, I don't know how I would keep my ground and be normal.
So you mean the drivers?
Yeah.
I think I understand what you mean. I think I've always gone through my career thinking they're just people, they're just human beings. They're just like me and you, with the same insecurities, the same hang-ups, whatever. They're just extraordinary athletes, or they're just brilliant on a bike or on the rugby pitch or behind the wheel of a car. And equally, when they're behind a microphone talking, that they're probably not in their comfort zone either. So you just got to think they are just human beings. But then you come into the world of F1, and that is amplified. They've got their kind of like, not entourage, but their kind of PR person, team. They've got so many staff around them, and they come over and you've got 2 minutes, and it's like, oh my God, but I think I've always felt relatively fortunate that I don't let that get to me, and I've never truly felt that flustered speaking. I've never really gone like fangirl or felt, starstruck by anyone, because that's not my job too. I think when I'm doing my job, I'm so focused on getting an outcome, and so focused on finding out what you guys are watching at home would want to know, that it's not my job to kind of go, oh my God, hi Daniel Ricardo, it's so nice to meet you. I'm just like, Daniel, P6, talk me through it. Yeah, crack on. And I think, holding on to that, just do your job, be professional. That gets you through, and then you can have your little moment off camera afterwards. But kind of, and I remember I did the pen interviews for the first time very recently with F1 at the Spanish Grand Prix, and the top 3 were making their rounds. This was after the race, so it was Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton. And I was just standing very still and quietly and just thinking about the questions I was going to ask, because it had been a complicated race, a lot of strategy talk. And my cameraman just leant over and whispered in my ear, don't forget to breathe. Because obviously I was standing there not breathing. He was like, just relax, kid, you're not even breathing, So have your moment before, after, but on it, you're professional.
Yeah, I think that's most important.
Yeah, and I think we can like relate to that, because when we're recording, when we're doing another podcast, we try to be really as professional as we can be. And off camera, like, we are a group of girls, and I think we all know how girls can get when they're like really passionate about something. But we would never do something like that on camera, because
exactly,
obviously.
No. I think we need to have fun, obviously, but we keep it as professionally fun as we can.
That's it. You've got to be yourself. I think that's the most crucial thing in anything, in presenting broadcasting, is being yourself. Don't be Laura the presenter, or Kelly the presenter, Julie. Be you on camera. So not you down the pub like a bottle of wine in, but you at your very best self. Basically, it does take a while to get that, because you've got to kind of like break down those nerves, and then you feel more comfortable being you. And I'd say that I'm at that point now, but it's not instant, and it takes a while.
Yeah, it does. I still remember the first time we ever recorded a podcast. I barely knew the girls, so that was a thing. And it was so nerve-wracking. I was like, oh God, what if I mess up? What if I mispronounce things? Because English is not my native language. So that was...
Oh, well, gosh, no, I've just said before, didn't I, that your English is far, far better than my German or Dutch or whatever. So yeah, don't worry at all. And I think making mistakes is human. I know people are like, oh God, I slipped, I stumbled over that word, and I've done it before. I've like stayed awake at night being like, can't believe I said that and not this. It's like, nobody cares or notices. Life's too short, and if it doesn't matter in 5 years, don't waste 5 minutes worrying, basically. It's another one of my mottos.
Good advice. Honestly.
Yeah, we'll note all this down.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Laura, for this. It was really great to get an insight of your career, but I think we want to talk a little bit about Monaco, the upcoming Grand Prix, because I know for me, like, Monaco has a special place in my heart. The girls know it. I don't think like, I always say Hockenheim is my favorite track, and it is racing wise, but Monaco just has a special place in my heart. It's been the first and only race I ever attended back in 2019. I was supposed to be there last year. Obviously that couldn't happen. Not being able to be there this weekend, let's not talk about that. But like I said, for me, I love Monaco. I know not everyone loves Monaco. I think there are a lot of people that are really critical with the circuit, but tell us about your view on Monaco. We'd like to know.
I think it's one of the only Grand Prix this year I think I'm not going to be at. So I'm at home for this week, which is, I actually kind of need a break, so it's okay, and I'll just watch it behind the scenes, so that's all right. But yeah, Monaco, you think of F1, you think of Monaco Grand Prix, right? It's like one of the most famous, iconic sporting venues, not just F1 venues, but sporting venues of all time. It's just so incredibly unique. It's iconic, isn't it? And it's one of the most famous, obviously. Yes, okay, it's one of the slowest, one of the shortest tracks, and it's twisty, it's turny. But whenever I speak to the drivers, and I host fan sessions, and they're asked, "What's your favourite track?" Monaco does come up time and time again. I think the allure and the grandeur and the majesty of the whole thing plays a part in that. Yes. It's not one for overtaking. I think it was the 2003 race. There were no passes at all, which is mad, absolutely mad. So yes, okay, it's not one for overtaking. So qualifying is hugely, hugely important. But I think, we've seen some great racing this year already. Obviously, the title fight is sort of leading Mercedes' way at the moment, but we're now going into one of the twistiest, tightest circuits with a title race. I can't wait to see what happens going into turn one. Like it's gonna be insane, isn't it? I think. Yeah, and I think everyone said, "Oh, the Spanish Grand Prix is so boring," whatever. I thought the Spanish Grand Prix was so intriguing. There was so much, intrigue to it. It was tense. It was full of strategy. So I really enjoyed that one. If that one's meant to be incredibly boring, and they always say, Monaco, no overtaking, whatever. You never know what's going to happen. I think in Monaco is a track. There's no such thing as low risk. The drivers are on their limit every single lap, and it's about millimeter accuracy. So yeah, I'm excited. There you go. I've whetted the appetite. I can't wait.
I feel that.
For me, like you said, they're on their limit every lap, and there is not much room for a mistake. And I think for me, that's what I like about street races. Whereas with a normal track, you got a little bit more room for a small mistake.
Yeah, you've got the runoff, you've got the gravel traps, you've got the curbs, whatever. Here you've got, street furniture. And I think the F1 calendar needs, the purest traditional tracks, the likes of Spain, Spa, which is one of my favorites, Monza. but Suzuka. But equally, it needs your Bakus and your Monacos. That you've got to test kind of every aspect of the driver's skill set. So obviously that's what we're going to see this weekend. And I know for a fact, especially because we didn't get to see Monaco last year, the drivers will be absolutely ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And like my biggest hope is that Charles Leclerc finally finishes his home Grand Prix, because I don't know, like Charles Leclerc is my favorite, like definitely one of my favorite drivers. And when I went to Monaco, like I was staying in Nice with some of my friends, and I was taking the train over to Monaco. I got outside, and the whole train station was full of the posters with Forza Charles and everything. And like he hasn't finished since he's doing, like I think back, like he didn't even finish when he was still doing Formula 2. So I would really love for him to
I saw this stat earlier and I was like, sorry, like he's DNF'd every race.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's I saw, and for him, he's always like, I love Monaco, it's my home race. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. Let's hope he finishes.
Yeah. So going with that, what are your, or basically everyone's prediction? We'd love to go for bold predictions. So I basically say that every race a Mercedes gonna DNF because I've got hope for a good title fight. So everyone, drop your wild, bold prediction, or just something that's really basic.
I think Daniel, I'm going to make a bold prediction, a wild prediction maybe. Daniel Ricciardo podium.
Oh yeah, same. I was about to say.
He's going to use the car. He's, he was a P6 in Spain. There's like this good sensations. He's settling in, and he's obviously won in Monaco before, 2018. So yeah, I'm going to say Daniel Ricciardo podium, and then I think Max and Lewis. And I don't know which order. I want to say Max, just to keep the title fight alive.
Yeah.
I hope to see Daniel on the podium as well, because it's been a while since we've seen him on a podium. Obviously last year with Renault, but I'd love to see him on the podium again, especially in Monaco.
I think if I could wish for anything, I would love to see Charles and Daniel on the podium. I mean, it would be amazing to see Charles finish and see a Daniel podium.
Yes.
Yeah,
I think they both
Charles
deserve
podium is overdue this season, so it would be amazing if we could do it as home race.
Yeah, imagine a Verstappen and Ricciardo Leclerc podium.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it's Ross Brawn that has said, or I saw a quote earlier today saying, they are Max and Lewis now, the fight is so intense. At some point, they're going to both go into turn one and neither of them are going to come out of it.
Yeah.
And that's like, I mean, as long as they're safe, that's like, okay, spicy.
Yeah.
I just get goosebumps.
Exactly. And Monaco is a track that, the limits are that much tighter. So we'll see. But Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, that could be an interesting podium.
I would love to see 3 different drivers from 3 different teams on there, to be honest. Like for me, my dream podium would probably be a Charles win, obviously. Danny Rick up there, and like I would say Max with the title fight, but my heart wants to go with Lando for I don't know whatever reason. It's just so bold. I'll just go for it.
Double McLaren podium. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
That would keep the P3 fight in judge standings. Wow, that would be pretty impressive.
Yeah. Okay. Going with someone that's probably not on our agenda today, but I just thought of it and I love the idea. What's your favorite iconic Monaco moment? Because for me, it's Kimi DNFing and going on that boat. It's like I think this will forever be one of my favorite iconic moments in F1 history. Like it's just you gotta love Kimi, right?
Yes. I think I have to agree with you. I think there's nothing. I think also Senna in the wet in Monaco, but equally I think there's nothing more Monaco and nothing more Kimi Räikkönen than DNFing a race and going, okay, off to my yacht. Like that is, I mean, what other planet On what other sport would you see that? And in what other place would you see that? It's just ridiculous. Nothing screams Monaco quite like DNFing the race and jumping on a yacht to go home.
Anyone got another opinion on that, or we'll just go
No.
with Kim?
That's a brilliant move from Kimi as well. Like,
Yeah. That man is iconic.
Yeah, he is. God, I'm sorry. I'm just so hyped for that race. Finally.
No, I mean, I'm excited for it now. We've talked about it. I'm like, hang on, yeah, it's going to be good. I think qualifying as well is going to be super exciting. That's where it's at, isn't it, for Monaco?
Yeah,
So,
unpredictable, I think, is always
Yeah.
the best.
yeah, for
Definitely.
sure.
I'm kind of hoping that, like, going back to the title fight thing, I kind of hope that Max takes pole and really, like, I think the Red Bull's more suited for the track than the Mercedes. So I've got quite a lot of hope into Max on this one, but you never know. It's Monaco, something crazy will happen. You know, there
And I
are
hope he has a
some
good
drivers-
strategy this week.
Oh, please don't get me started
And-
on all that.
There are
So,
some
yeah,
drivers.
I spoke to obviously Mercedes and Max after Spain, and Mercedes were initially going for the one stop, and it was only because Max got Lewis at turn 1 that they were like, we got to go 2, and it ended up being the strategy that worked.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I found it a fascinating race, but I think Monaco is going to be very different. And I think I haven't seen the weather. I think it's just glorious, isn't it? We're not.
It
used
is.
to rain.
Probably.
Yeah,
A couple of days ago, they were like predicting some rain, but the rain is all gone now.
The rain
Sadly.
never ever falls during Grand Prix, does it? I think
No.
when I was in Spain, obviously we were like, it might be raining, and I walked out like half an hour before the race, and it was like, it's drizzling, and then nothing. Race was bone dry, and then that night, I obviously woke up at probably like 2-3 a.m. to the heaviest rain you'll ever hear. And I was
It could have come earlier, to be honest.
like,
Yeah,
would have made it interesting.
definitely.
Just like Imola.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was Turkey last year.
Oh,
Yeah, I loved that race.
Crazy.
Also, I love wet races. Like, I think my favorite wet race is Germany 2019.
Yes, that's another one that I was actually at, because I've only been to 4 Grand Prix. It feels like I've done more, even to me, but I've only actually been to 4 Grand Prix and worked from home, obviously, last year for the rest. But Germany was one of the ones that I went to. It was absolutely freezing the whole weekend, and obviously there was no running on the Friday, new track, limited data. So yeah, it wasn't a really exciting one. I mean, we still had, Lewis winning, but yeah, it was a good race for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it.
I think
I don't have
that's it.
anything else.
No,
Do you have anything? No? Okay.
I don't.
Oh, I gotta ask something. Like, Laura, we normally, I don't know if you've seen this, but we normally do like a prediction game on the weekend where we have like this little fight going on between the five
love
of us,
it.
basically.
Yeah, I'm competitive. Let's do it.
So if you're down for that, just drop us a message after quali with your race predictions, so you can be featured if you'd like to do that.
Okay, I will. That's for sure. I mean, you've got my pre-quali prediction though of Max, Lewis, Daniel Ricciardo.
Wait, I'll just write that down because otherwise I'll forget that.
You will.
What's that supposed to mean?
Nothing. Don't worry.
I just wrote that down so we're prepared. After quali, if that changes, just let us know, because we normally do our predictions after quali.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're not completely off, although that also happens.
Not
I just
completely
go for
off.
normally I go for a Hamilton, DNF, and a Leclerc podium because
Yeah,
I
how
like
many
the
times
ball.
has that happened, huh?
Is it a prediction or a wish list?
both.
But Julia is winning at this point, so
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Oh,
excuse is
okay.
I never have time to watch quali. I'm always out, so that's why my excuse for doing bad.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm leaning is because I nailed the Imola prediction with
Yeah,
the
you
Lando
did.
podium.
Yeah.
Nice.
Only reason, because I got
but
that.
I'm
like,
winning as well at this point because I nailed last.
Yeah, that was
race.
crazy.
You got it bang on the podium.
Yeah, I think I did. No,
No,
but I
you
had
didn't.
the first 2 right, and everyone else got them wrong.
Yeah, because
So
we
yeah,
all
we all
put
put
Carl on the
Max.
Getting points for
podium.
that.
No, we all thought Max would win. That
Max
was the
would win.
point.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Was it?
I thought
Yes.
Max would win last week as well. Actually,
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, whatever it
Yeah.
was. I don't know. 2 weeks. Yeah,
Feels like it was yesterday.
it does. I know.
Thank you for watching this new episode of Girls on the Grid. If you want to see more of us, please follow us on our social medias. It's all linked in the description box. See you next time.